The room was silent, save for the low hum of advanced machinery. In the alien council chamber, a sea of multifaceted eyes, some organic, others crystalline, were fixed on the large hollow screen that displayed the righteous fury, Earth's last remaining battleship. A complex web of energy readings and weapons schematics flickered in the air as the alien species, the highest form of intelligence in the galaxy, observed the human vessel in awe. They had expected this scan to confirm their predictions, an old, outdated ship from a dying race, but what they saw instead filled them with dread. "It's a mistake," said the Varren diplomat, his reptilian face twisting in confusion. "This is impossible. That ship, it shouldn't exist." The rest of the room shifted uneasily. What they were seeing didn't make sense. The righteous fury was not just a human ship. It was something far beyond the technology they had anticipated. The hull was made from an alloy that defied known science. The ship's weapons were not primitive at all, but far ahead of anything the galaxy had ever seen. Even more disturbing, the energy signature emanating from its core was unlike anything the Council had ever recorded. It was a weapon, a deep space dreadnought that should never have been possible for Earth to create. "This must be a mistake," the Selenor representative said, her voice filled with disbelief. "That kind of technology, it's not possible for humans. They were still in the Stone Age only a few hundred years ago. How could they—" "Scan again," the High Elder commanded, his voice calm but his eyes narrowing. The righteous fury blinked out of the scan momentarily, only to return with the same readings, undisturbed. "There was no mistake. We are seeing what we are seeing," the High Elder said grimly. "The humans have outgrown their previous limits." A tense silence fell over the room. The council members exchanged looks. The righteous fury was not the only surprise awaiting them. The human race had been underestimated, their capabilities dismissed as nothing more than primitive aggression. But now, the entire galaxy was forced to confront the truth. "It's not just a ship," the Varren murmured, voice tight with fear. "It's a war machine, and they're hiding it from us. How many others like it are there?" The screen flickered again, and a new set of data flooded the console. The ship's cloaking systems had been engaged, an advanced stealth technology that bent light around the ship, rendering it almost invisible to scanners. The image of the righteous fury disappeared, replaced by only a ripple in the electromagnetic field, a sign that something enormous and powerful was lurking just beyond their reach. "We've been watching them," a humanoid species from the Nithran Coalition said in a low voice. "We thought they were weak, that they were disorganized and easy to conquer. Now we know they've been hiding their strength all this time." A tremor of unease rippled through the room. The aliens had always assumed humanity was divided, incapable of uniting under one banner. Yet the ship in front of them was a clear indication that Earth had not only united, but was advancing faster than anyone had thought possible. The Selenor representative clenched her fists, her deep black eyes flashing with indignation. "We need to act now," she said sharply. "They've clearly been working on this for years. If we don't take control of this situation, we'll be facing a galactic war." The High Elder turned his attention back to the console, his expression unreadable. "We can't act recklessly. This ship is only one part of their military force. We don't know what else they have, and we cannot afford to make a rash decision. If the humans are hiding this ship, there's likely more. Hidden technologies we can't yet comprehend. We must be careful." A low murmur of agreement spread across the room, but it was clear that the aliens were uncertain. They had always considered humanity a threat, but this ship, this righteous fury, was a game-changer. It was a symbol of Earth's potential. A potential that was now far beyond their calculations. The Varren leader leaned forward, his large eyes narrowing as he scrutinized the data. "What is it about this ship that we don't understand?" he muttered to himself. Suddenly, the alien council's focus shifted to the comm channels. The righteous fury was no longer cloaked, and the comms lit up with a transmission from the human ship. The alien leaders straightened, their attention shifting rapidly. The voice that crackled through the static was cold and calm, yet there was an undeniable steel to it. "This is Captain Amelia Graves of the Righteous Fury. To the alien fleets monitoring our ship, consider this your last warning. You've had your chance to retreat, but if you continue this charade, if you think you can threaten Earth, I promise you, you will regret it. We have no more patience for your games." The voice echoed through the chamber, a quiet threat hanging in the air. The alien leaders could hear the underlying promise of destruction in her words. Their worst fears had been realized. Humanity was no longer a primitive species to be ignored or enslaved. They had crossed a line. A moment of complete stillness descended upon the council. No one spoke. The words from Captain Graves had struck them deeply, each syllable hanging in the air like a warning shot. "Prepare for immediate action." The High Elder finally said, his voice tight. "Activate all fleets. We will not be intimidated by their threats." But even as they spoke, the realization set in. The human captain had shown them just how far humanity was willing to go. The Righteous Fury wasn't just a ship. It was a declaration. Earth wasn't going to wait for permission anymore. They weren't going to fall in line with the rest of the galaxy. And just like that, the galaxy had shifted. The balance of power was no longer in the hands of the so-called superior species. Earth had declared its presence, and now they would pay the price for underestimating humanity. The tension in the room reached a breaking point. The High Elder's voice grew colder, but there was a hint of fear that no one dared acknowledge. "Begin full preparations," he ordered. "We are going to war." The alien fleet stood ready, poised to act. The tension in the air was palpable as dozens of species, all members of the Galactic Council, watched the display with a shared sense of impending doom. The Righteous Fury, a human battleship, was an anomaly that they could not ignore. In a matter of hours, it had gone from an insignificant afterthought to a formidable force that threatened the very structure of the galaxy. The aliens knew. Their moment of arrogance had passed, and now they had no choice but to face the consequences of their miscalculations. The Council had called for a full mobilization, but their initial fear was turning into something deeper. Panic had set in. The human ship had shown them something they hadn't been prepared for, raw power hidden behind years of careful silence. Their spies on Earth had reported nothing of the sort. No one had expected such a leap in technology. No one had suspected that humanity was capable of crafting something like the Righteous Fury. And now, with the humans issuing their ultimatum, the Alien Council realized they had been playing a dangerous game. "We can't allow them to gain any more ground," the Varren leader said, his voice barely above a whisper. "They've been biding their time. How many more ships are out there, just waiting to strike?" The High Elder's brow furrowed as he stared at the display in front of him. "This ship, the Righteous Fury, is unlike anything we've encountered. And if it's just one ship, the humans must have more. This could be the tip of the iceberg." The Selenor representative spoke next, her tone sharp. "The problem is that we don't know how many more ships they have. But what we do know is that we underestimated them. They're not just a race of savages anymore. They've evolved, and now they want us to pay for every single time we dismiss them." The High Elder nodded slowly, a grim expression on his face. "And we will. We will make sure humanity knows their place in the galaxy, but not recklessly. We can't afford that." The Council moved quickly, as it always did when faced with a challenge. Alien leaders from every corner of the galaxy, each with their own unique strengths and weaknesses, began to strategize their countermeasure. But no one spoke of fear openly. It was unspoken, but it hung in the room like a tangible force. They had crossed a line by underestimating Earth. Now they were going to have to pay for it. Meanwhile, aboard the Righteous Fury, Captain Amelia Graves stood at the helm, her fingers hovering above the holographic interface in front of her. She had always been a woman of action, someone who thrived under pressure. But even now, with the weight of an entire species' fate on her shoulders, there was a cold sense of clarity in her mind. "Status report," she said, her voice firm as she turned to her crew. "All systems are operational, Captain," Lieutenant Reese replied, his eyes flicking over the many screens in front of him. "Weapons are powered up. Cloaking system is fully engaged. We're ready." Graves nodded. She trusted her crew, but she knew that the moment they left their position and entered full combat, everything would change. They would no longer be just a ship in the shadows. They would be a force to be reckoned with, a symbol of humanity's wrath, a response to the galaxy's centuries of disregard for Earth. "Enemy fleets are still out there, Captain," Reese said, his voice low but tinged with excitement. "They've begun to mobilize. They're preparing for something. Looks like they're taking us seriously now." Graves didn't respond immediately. Her mind was focused on what had to come next. She couldn't afford to underestimate her enemies, just as they had underestimated her. She had learned long ago that the key to winning a war wasn't just in the weapons you wielded, but in how you used them. "We need to make the first move," she said finally, her eyes locking with Reese's. "Activate the EMP. We'll blind them long enough to get in close, then we strike, full force." The crew acknowledged her orders with nods and murmurs of agreement. Graves took a deep breath and stood. There was no turning back now. The first salvo of humanity's revenge was about to be launched. The Righteous Fury surged forward, invisible to any scanning systems, its cloaking technology rendering it as little more than a ghost ship in the vast expanse of space. The alien fleets, despite their vast technological superiority, could not detect the human ship in the dark. They had never encountered anything like it, and as the human ship advanced toward their position, fear began to gnaw at the hearts of their commanders. "All units prepare for engagement," the High Elder ordered from his command center. His voice was calm, but even he could not hide the edge of tension in it. "Their ship is out there, somewhere. We cannot let them slip through our grasp again." The alien fleets, now scattered across the galaxy, were aligning in a battle formation. The first wave was composed of ships from the Varan Confederacy, powerful vessels built for destruction. The second wave consisted of the Selenor fleets, faster, more agile ships with advanced weaponry. Together, they formed a two-pronged attack that would overwhelm any opponent. But they hadn't accounted for Earth's ingenuity. The first blow struck when the Righteous Fury released a massive EMP pulse, disabling the enemy's communication systems. The pulse surged through the alien fleet, sending shockwaves of confusion. Rippling through their ranks, ships stalled mid-flight, and messages scrambled in chaos as the Righteous Fury remained hidden in the vast expanse. "EMP pulse activated," Lieutenant Reese said, his voice steady. "We've got them where we want them." "Prepare for Phase 2, Graves ordered, her eyes narrowing. "Engage weapons, full power." The first of the alien ships that had been disabled suddenly found itself targeted by the Righteous Fury's advanced weaponry. Plasma bolts streaked through the dark void of space, hitting their marks with deadly precision. The alien ship exploded in a burst of light that illuminated the surrounding area. The shockwave sent a ripple of fear through the alien forces. "Captain, they've detected us!" Reese shouted as the alien ships began to mobilize, trying to adapt to the sudden assault. Graves clenched her fists, watching the chaos unfold on the bridge's main screen. "They're panicking," she said, her voice cold. "Good, let them." The alien fleets were now in full disarray. Ships scrambled to engage the human ship, but their technological advantage had been neutralized by the EMP. The Righteous Fury was faster, more powerful, and now it had the element of surprise. "They're on the run," Reese reported, his eyes wide with disbelief. "We've hit them hard. They're retreating." But Graves didn't let up. She wasn't satisfied with just scaring them off. This was only the beginning. The galaxy needed to know that humanity wasn't going to sit idly by while alien species trampled on them. They were going to fight back, and they would fight to win. "Prepare to disable their command ship," she ordered. "Once we take out their leaders, the rest will fall apart." The righteous fury shifted course, locking onto the flagship of the alien fleet, the massive vessel that had been the center of their operations. The crew could feel the tension building as they made their final approach. In that moment, as the ship's weapons powered up once again, Captain Graves knew that there was no turning back. They had made their mark on the galaxy, and they would not be forgotten. As the righteous fury closed in on the alien command ship, a single line echoed across the comm systems, this time not from the aliens, but from the human captain, for Earth. With that, the final strike was launched. The universe would never be the same again. The command deck of the righteous fury was alive with activity, the hum of advanced technology blending with the tense energy that ran through the crew. Captain Amelia Graves stood at the front of the room, her eyes scanning the battle unfolding before her. The righteous fury had already delivered a crushing blow to the alien fleets, an EMP pulse that had left the enemy ships disabled and in disarray. Now the real fight was about to begin. Graves's mind was razor-focused. She wasn't just thinking about the battle in front of her, she was thinking about the war they were about to wage. Humanity had been underestimated for too long. The galaxy had always seen Earth as a primitive, backward world, a speck in the vastness of the cosmos. But no longer. She had promised her crew, her world, that they would take back what was theirs. They would show the galaxy the true might of humanity. "Status report," she said, her voice cutting through the room like a blade. "All enemy ships are disabled, Captain," Lieutenant Reese replied, his voice tight with excitement. "We've crippled their communications and disabled their primary engines. Their command ship is the only one still operational, but it's retreating. We can take it out before they regroup." Graves nodded, her face set in a determined expression. "Lock on to the command ship. Prepare the weapons for final engagement. We finish this now." The crew sprang into action. Systems hummed to life as the targeting systems locked onto the flagship of the alien fleet. The enemy ship, once the symbol of alien superiority, was now a wounded animal scrambling for escape. It was trying to flee, but the righteous fury wasn't going to let it. Not after everything humanity had suffered, not after all the years of being ignored and dismissed. "Captain," Reese said, his voice hesitant, "they're sending a distress signal. They're asking for reinforcements. It won't be long before." "More ships arrive?" "We don't need more ships," Graves replied, her voice cold and resolute. "We need this one to fall. Once we take out their leadership, the rest will crumble. They're just waiting to be shown their place." The righteous fury began its final approach, the vast expanse of space stretching out before them like a canvas of infinite darkness. The alien flagship loomed large ahead, its shape a menacing silhouette against the stars. Graves could see the fear in the aliens' desperate movements. They knew they had underestimated Earth, and now they were paying the price. On the alien flagship, the High Elder stood at the center of the bridge, his mind racing. The righteous fury had taken them by surprise, but they were regrouping. Despite the chaos, he couldn't allow himself to show weakness. He was the leader of the fleet, the symbol of their power, and he would not let humanity dictate the terms of this war. "Activate the shield generators," he barked. "We cannot allow them to destroy the command ship. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Bring every weapon system online. We will not go down without a fight." The crew scrambled to comply. The High Elder's words were sharp and full of authority, but beneath that was a hint of fear. This wasn't just another skirmish. This was something far worse. The human ship had torn through their fleet like a knife through paper, and now it was coming for the heart of their power. The Righteous Fury was no ordinary ship. It was a weapon, a symbol of humanity's potential, and the High Elder realized, too late, that they had made a grave mistake. He watched as the Righteous Fury powered up its weapons, preparing for the final strike. The alien flagship was still trying to regroup, but it was clear it wasn't going to be enough. The human ship was too fast, too powerful. His mind raced, but there was no way to stop the inevitable. All units, the High Elder said, his voice trembling, prepare for impact. We will make them regret ever crossing us. But even as he spoke, the reality of the situation settled in. The Righteous Fury was too advanced, too relentless. It had already done too much damage. Their reinforcements were still too far away to be of any use. They were fighting a losing battle, and the High Elder knew it. Back aboard the Righteous Fury, Graves stared at the alien flagship on the screen. The distance between them was closing rapidly, and she could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her. This wasn't just about defeating a fleet. It was about sending a message to the galaxy that humanity was not to be trifled with, that Earth would no longer be a target for exploitation. "All systems ready, Captain," Reese reported, his voice steady despite the tension. "We're locked on and ready to fire." "Do it," Graves ordered, her voice unwavering. "Show them what happens when you push humanity too far." The Righteous Fury unleashed a barrage of energy beams, each one tearing through the darkness of space with deadly precision. The alien flagship's shields shimmered briefly before collapsing under the assault. The first blast struck the ship's hull, sending a shockwave that reverberated through the vacuum of space. The flagship faltered, its defensive systems failing. In the face of the human onslaught, Graves watched as the alien ship's systems faltered. The chaos unfolding on the screen was a testament to humanity's might. She felt no joy in the destruction, only the satisfaction of knowing that Earth was finally taking control of its destiny. The galaxy had long underestimated them, but no more. The human race had proved that it could stand toe-to-toe with the greatest powers in the universe, and it had won. The Righteous Fury fired again, this time targeting the command center of the alien flagship. The blast struck with a force that sent the ship into a violent spin, its systems now beyond repair. The flagship was finished. "Direct hit to the command deck, Captain," Reese reported, his voice filled with awe. "Their flagship is done. No escape, no way to recover." Graves allowed herself a moment of quiet satisfaction, but her mind was already turning to the next step. They had won this battle, but the war wasn't over yet. There were more alien fleets out there, more threats to humanity's future. And now they would know the consequences of crossing Earth. The alien flagship continued to disintegrate on the screen, its debris scattering across the void of space. It was a fitting end for a species that had underestimated humanity's resolve. The battle for Earth's future had just begun, but today humanity had proven that it would fight with everything it had. Graves turned to her crew, her expression determined. "This is only the beginning. We've shown them what we're capable of, but there's more work to be done. We're going to make sure the galaxy never forgets who we are." The Righteous Fury's engines roared to life as they prepared for the next phase of the battle, and the crew, emboldened by their victory, stood ready for whatever came next. The aftermath of the battle left a silence so deep it felt like the universe itself had taken a breath. The wreckage of the alien flagship drifted in the void, a lifeless hulk of twisted metal and flickering energy. The Righteous Fury hovered nearby, its sleek form untouched by the chaos it had wrought. Captain Amelia Graves stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the screen, watching as the last remnants of the alien command ship disintegrated. The alien fleets that had once filled the sky with their intimidating presence were now nothing more than a scattered, disorganized mess. The righteous fury had crippled their forces, sending shockwaves of fear through the remaining ships. The universe, which had once dismissed humanity as a minor threat, now saw them for what they truly were, a force to be reckoned with. Graves took a deep breath, her hands steady on the controls. Her mind raced, but there was no time for rest. This victory had been essential, but it was only a small piece of a much larger picture. The alien fleets were not the only ones out there. There were countless other species, other empires, and other forces that still saw humanity as expendable. But now they knew better. "Captain," Lieutenant Reese's voice broke through the stillness. "All enemy ships have been disabled. We've taken out their command structure. They're no longer a threat." Graves nodded, but her eyes remained cold. "What about the reinforcements?" "We've intercepted their distress signals. Their reinforcements are still on their way, but they're scattered. It'll take them days, maybe weeks, to regroup," Reese replied, his voice tense. "We've given them a taste of what we're capable of, Captain. They'll think twice before they come after Earth again." Graves stood in silence for a moment, staring at the wreckage of the enemy fleet. The galaxy had been watching, and now they knew the truth. Humanity had teeth, and it wasn't afraid to use them. The power dynamics had shifted, and the universe had just realized it. "We're not done yet," Graves said finally, her voice unwavering. "We'll take the time to regroup, but we can't let them forget who we are. Earth is no longer the underdog. We've earned our place in this galaxy, and we'll defend it." She turned to Reese, her eyes hard with determination. "Prepare a message. I want every fleet within range to hear this." Reese looked at her, understanding flashing in his eyes. "Yes, Captain." The communication channels hummed to life as the crew of the Righteous Fury prepared to send their message to the galaxy. The alien fleets may have been temporarily disabled, but there were always others. The universe was vast, and it was only a matter of time before other forces would test humanity again. As Graves stepped in front of the communication console, the weight of what she was about to say settled in. This wasn't just about victory. It was about sending a message that would echo through the cosmos, a message that would mark the beginning of a new era for Earth. The camera on the ship's bridge focused on her, capturing every detail of her determined expression. Her eyes were fierce, unyielding. For the first time, she felt the full weight of her role as humanity's protector, the captain of Earth's last hope, the face of a new, unbowed race. This is Captain Amelia Graves, commanding the Righteous Fury. To every species in this galaxy, hear me now. Earth is no longer the weak, isolated world you once knew. We have faced destruction, but we have survived, and we will not back down. Know this: if you come for us, you will regret it. If you try to dominate us, we will fight back with everything we have. This is not just a warning, it's a promise. The age of humanity's silence is over, and we will defend our future no matter the cost. The galaxy will remember the name Earth, and you will remember the name of the Righteous Fury. With those words, she ended the transmission, her hand steady as it hovered over the console. There was no doubt in her mind now. The humans had proved their strength, and this message would resonate across the stars. The crew watched in silence as the screen faded to black. There were no cheers, no celebrations, only the quiet acknowledgement that the battle was won, and yet the war was far from over. The galaxy would never forget the devastation the Righteous Fury had wrought, nor the words of Captain Amelia Graves. She turned to her crew, her voice resolute. "We've made our mark, but we've only just begun." And as the Righteous Fury powered up its engines, the stars stretched out before them, vast and unknown. But no longer were they just explorers in a foreign galaxy. Now they were defenders, warriors, and the universe would have to reckon with them. The ship sailed forward, the hum of its engines filling the silence as they moved into the dark unknown. A new chapter had begun for humanity, and this time it would be written on their own terms.